What if Palpatine saw his own death in the world between worlds? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. His satisfaction is marred by his duress at not being told of its existence by his apprentice. He saw his starfighter there and sensed the disturbance in the Force. He knew Vader was hiding something from him. He just didn't know how massive it was. The path he walks soon changes, going from solid brick path down a hall into a celestial road forking in 1,000 directions across a vast web of light and portals. Standing atop this road is Darth Vader. Palpatine snarls and advances toward him, his lightsaber igniting as his apprentice turns to face him.
Master, what are you doing here?
Palpatine's response is a burst of lightning that his apprentice blocks against just barely.
You disappoint me, Vader. Did you truly believe you could take this power from me?
Vader holds his ground, even as he defends against the attack. However, the strain is clear on his body.
No. I wanted no such thing. I wanted to protect you from this place.
Enough lies. The power of this place belongs to me.
You will find no power here. Only death and suffering. My master, in all these timelines and worlds, you will lose.
The lightning suddenly stops as Palpatine's face changes, his brows arching with concern.
What?
I've searched nearly 100 timelines and observed what would happen. The same is true for almost all of them. They end with your defeat.
Palpatine's jaw falls open as he hears this, but his surprise is quickly replaced by anger. He shoves Vader aside and begins to analyze these portals, watching the events play out. There are countless scenarios he sees, all where he puts his plan into play. In many of them, they end before he even has a chance to put them into action, and when he does, something emerges to try and stop him. There are countless of these scenarios that stop him. One where Vader's children rise against him, where Maul or Ahsoka kills him, or his own master, and even one where a clone of all people manages to defeat him. Some even bring beings that he's never heard of. Names like Iroh, Superman, the Joker, and Master Chief are all alien to him and yet somehow play a role in his defeat. The Emperor falls to his knees, trying to take all this in. The power here is immeasurable, but the sight of all these scenarios leaves it just out of reach. How could his plans, the Sith's grand plan, fail so spectacularly? As Vader approaches, Palpatine suddenly shoots his hand out and strikes him with lightning. This time, the Dark Apprentice goes down, his body writhing in pain. No, these Palpatines, all of them, are weak. Therefore, they are unworthy of power, only to be culled. Palpatine feels a strange pull towards one of the portals and makes his way there. Vader had no idea how long he was unconscious, but suddenly he felt a hand across his helmet. Still groggy, he feels a sudden shaking of his body. The grip is strong and aggressive, while a hint of magic shakes off his injuries.
Wake up! Wake up, Vader!
When he opens his eyes, he's surprised to see the face of his wife, but not the one he remembers. This Padme is wearing the regalia of an empress, with dark flowing robes covered in Night Sister and Sith runes. At her side are a pair of sickle swords, while her eyes are lined yellow with malice.
What? Padme?
That's Empress Padme to you. Now get up.
As he sits up, Anakin swears he's seeing double. There are two more of him there. One is wearing a studded leather jacket, and the other simple Jedi robes, though tattered and worn out. But the strangest was a figure in modified Mandalorian armor, painted red and black.
So, the youngling killer is awake.
Shut up, Deadpool. So, do you remember anything that happened?
The last thing I recall was my master coming here and striking me with lightning, and then I blacked out.
Well, your master is now causing chaos across the multiverse.
What? How can that be? Who are you people?
You're not from the Genius Anakin timeline. Alright, I'm Deadpool. You already met Goth Mommy here, and over there is Tentacle Hentai and Hot Wheels.
Their names are Venom and Ghost Rider. Palpatine's struck in their timelines already. He murdered the Palpatines in their timelines and left.
He didn't just murder them. He took their powers and severed their connections to the Force. Such a thing is only possible with my powers. Or so I thought.
That's why we must stop him. We have several of our allies determining the extent of these attacks, but we believe there is only one known timeline where he might have gained these powers.
Deadpool points to a portal. What if Anakin learned to remove Force connections, like Aang?
See? I told you that's where he'd be. What do we do about generic Dark Lord here?
Then we're going on. As for you, Vader, we could use your help.
Vader clenches his fist, reeling from the residual effect of his lightning. He had long resented Palpatine and knew his master didn't value him. His recent actions proved that beyond a shadow of a doubt. Vader nods and rushes in with them. As he looks at the portal, he feels a dark presence within it, like the Force there is growing restive, as if something is affecting it. The group rushes into a portal and finds themselves in a laboratory. While Venom and Ghost Rider begin inspecting the facility, Padme and Deadpool check to see if the Palpatine of this universe is safe. Thankfully, the holofeed shows he just gave a speech a few hours ago, meaning he's alive. Unfortunately, the lab they find themselves in is an extraordinary facility, but belongs to Darth Tenebris. They find his notes and documents detailing his experiments and how he tried to craft his maxi-chlorians, modified midichlorians designed to grant him immortality, but at the cost of losing his Force abilities. When Vader checks the security feed, he sees the Anakin of this universe experimenting and creating his new maxi-chlorians. But soon after, he fast-forwards and sees Palpatine entering through the same portal as them, and starting to access the machinery, implanting the same maxi-chlorians in himself.
We must warn the Anakin of this timeline. Perhaps he can help us. But how do we get to him?
Leave that to me. Deadpool, call some backup and get ready. We've picked up the trail.
All it takes is a few flirtatious messages to Force blocker Anakin, saying how she hasn't seen him in such a long time and wants to visit her soon. They don't wait long, as Anakin soon answers, promising to visit her in her apartment. While Vader and Deadpool are stuffing the Padme from this timeline in her closet, Empress Padme lays seductively on the sofa, her crimson gown shimmering with veins of gold, clinging to her form like fire. Her smile is equal parts regal and menacing, her eyes cold, but aligned with something darker as Force blocker Anakin appears from the door.
Anakin, you've come.
Well, this is a surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one. What kind of game is this?
Oh, but this isn't a game. It's destiny. Now, why don't we start with some answers?
Shadows stir in the corners of the room. Anakin stiffens, his senses sharpening as figures emerge one by one. The first is Deadpool in his red and black suit as he twirls his blades. The second figure is Venom Anakin, his hulking, inky black form oozing with menace. The room heats up as Ghost Rider Anakin steps forward, his sword ready. Flames dance across his skeletal visage. The final figure emerges, his mechanical breathing filling the room like a death knell. Darth Vader. Anakin's lightsaber hand twitches, his thumb brushing against the ignition switch. His instincts scream at him to act, but Padme's laugh cuts.
Relax. I'm not your enemy. And neither are they. So long as you cooperate.
You expect me to believe that? And you expect to win? I have more power than you realize.
You mean the maxi-chlorians? I'm not a threat to you. I might be the only one who understands you. Tell me, Anakin. Has anything unusual happened in your timeline recently? Anything out of the ordinary?
No. Nothing.
Then can you explain this?
He holds up the holodisc, showing the security footage from Tenebris's lab. Anakin's eyes widen as he watches the Chancellor working on the same equipment he was using to create his maxi-chlorians, repeating the same process and doing it on himself.
No, that can't be right. Wait, look at the time. He was giving a speech at that time. I saw him.
So you see the problem. How can there be two Palpatines? The other is a fugitive, One who has murdered his counterparts across several timelines, and yet yours remains unharmed.
You think I'm working with him? I have no idea about any of this.
How disappointing. Unfortunately, I believe you. But that hardly serves you because we need your help in figuring this out. If you refuse, well, Venom gets hungry.
The next day, the small group makes their way up the steps of the Jedi Temple, instead of the quiet and caution they display with Anakin. The group decides to go for a more direct approach. Deadpool whistles a jaunty tune, twirling one of his swords. Venom marches forward, his tongue dangling out. Ghost Rider stalks silently, the flames of his skull casting an ominous glow on the temple's ancient stone steps. The temple guards raise their lightsabers.
State your business. Hi, we're here for the council. Big meeting. World-ending stakes. You know the drill. So why don't you space cultists stand aside and we'll be on our way.
The sentries exchange glances and then ignite their lightsabers. Deadpool steps back as Venom suddenly leaps into the air, his tendrils extending out and wrapping around the guards, slamming them into each other before tossing them aside. The commotion brings down the other guards and Jedi who rush forward. Before anyone can escalate, Ghost Rider steps forward, his sword clinking ominously as it opens into a chain that scatters the nearest Jedi.
If anyone stands in our way, you'll know fear like you've never imagined. However, I would rather not hurt anyone. I would.
Deadpool smirks at his two companions before drawing his swords. The Jedi don't take their words seriously, and more temple guards emerge rushing forward as three rush into combat. Ghost Rider's flames scatter the Jedi while Deadpool picks them off one by one. Venom, meanwhile, leaps into the center of the action, laughing as he swats at the Jedi, shrugging off their attacks and throwing them aside. Force Blocker Anakin soon joins in the fun, igniting his lightsaber and helping disarm the guards. Soon, the alarms are raised, and Jedi are pouring out to engage them. Padawans pause mid-lesson, their eyes wide as the group creates a commotion below. Jedi Knights and Masters step into defensive positions, forming lines to intercept them.
We are not here to fight.
Why is diplomacy always so boring?
He cartwheels past a group of Jedi with infuriating ease. He taps the hilt of his blade against one Jedi.
Boop!
Meanwhile, as the chaos ensues, a pair of invisible figures slip into the council chambers, where they are in a panic about what to do. Padme suddenly deactivates her spell and smirks, twirling her swords.
Oh, you might change your tune when you hear what we have to say.
The Masters exchange uneasy glances, but before anyone can respond, Yoda's calm voice cuts through the tension.
Stand down, they will. Speak you may.
The Jedi lower their sabers reluctantly, allowing the group to enter the chamber. Inside, the council sits in their circular formation, their faces a mixture of suspicion and curiosity.
What I'm about to tell you will decide the fate of us all. Not just this galaxy or the universe, but the entire multiverse.
Vader explains who he is and how Palpatine discovered the world between worlds, while Padme drops her swords and explains who they are and how the Force Blocker Anakin learned how to sever a being's connection with the Force. She urges them to help them on their quest. They urge the Council to investigate, but some of them remain wary, especially as they are all dark side Force users. Before the tension can boil over, a blinking light tears through the chamber. The ceiling cracks open as a figure descends, bathed in crimson and golden radiance. A chorus of angels hum as he appears. Anakin Skywalker lands on the floor, bathed in a golden aura, while his wings spread out. Sorry I'm late. Well, if you're worried about the dark side, why not try me?
Way to make an entrance, Sky Guy.
Yoda closes his eyes and reaches out with the Force, sensing none of the darkness within this version of Anakin. Meanwhile, Mace stares at them, his mouth opening and closing as he tries to take in the fact there is a second Anakin. Meanwhile, the rest of the council stares in horror, much to Vader and Anakin's amusement.
And who are you?
I'm you after you die. I went to hell and found redemption.
And how did that happen?
Killed the first man. Now, Masters, they're telling the truth. You might not trust them, but you need to do what's right. Plus, most of you are going to hell anyway, so you might want to start redeeming yourselves now. And what exactly is coming? There is a scream from outside as the nearest Jedi from the courtyard are thrown aside. A figure steps into the temple. His presence brings an end to the fighting as he ignites his lightsaber. The rest of them immediately feel a disturbance in the Force, a sharp darkness that seems to blanket even Padme and Vader's presence. Vader roars and rushes at him, but Palpatine starts to toss him aside. The Jedi Council members glance at their new arrivals and push out to join the fighting. Has-Been Hotel Anakin grabs Vader and leaps out the window to join the others below. Ghost Rider swings his chain at Palpatine, who raises a hand and redirects it aside. He sidesteps an attack from Has-Been Hotel Anakin, who swings his lightsaber at him. Palpatine ducks under the next attack and kicks him across the stomach, sending him stumbling. Vader leaps over and prepares to swing his lightsaber, but Palpatine counters with his own.
Is this the best you can send out against me?
Not at all. He opens a portal, and two more figures leap out, both emperors and masters of the dark side, Emperor Revan and Darth Jar Jar. The pair readies their lightsabers, but to their surprise, Palpatine laughs.
I have known about your little rebellion for some time. I had thought leaving this Palpatine untouched would throw you off my scent, but clearly I was wrong. Oh well, at least now I can kill you all, and your deaths may complete this circle. I will not have any further interruptions to my plan.
Arrogant as you are in all timelines, I see. How do you expect to take us all?
Simple. I made sure to get some souvenirs when I visited Venom's timeline.
Before anyone can react, tendrils of blood-red symbiote erupt from Palpatine's body. The Carnage symbiote engulfs him in a grotesque transformation, wrapping around his body and augmenting his form. His cackling grows deeper, more distorted, as the symbiote's energy merges with the dark power he's stolen from the other timelines. The monstrous mass swells larger and larger until Palpatine towers over the battlefield, his grotesque symbiotic form now standing as tall as the spires of the Jedi Temple. Carnage Palpatine's form is horrifying, jagged and sinewy, with clawed tendrils lashing out in all directions. The air is filled with the sound of his earth-shattering roar. His tentacles lash out, wrapping around the spires of the Jedi Temple and crushing them with ease. The ground trembles beneath him, and his glowing eyes gleam from the monstrosity's core.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Padme and Deadpool are still inside the temple.
Don't worry. Me and Goth Mommy can handle the space cultists.
In the meantime, the rest of you need to deal with that.
If I can get close enough, I can drain him of his powers. But that thing is shielding him. I'll need an opening.
I'll make an opening.
Without hesitation, Venom leaps into the air, his symbiote tendrils lashing out to clash with the larger Carnage monstrosity. His clash lashes out, ripping tentacles from Carnage's body as Venom's primal roar rips through the battlefield. He swings from tendril to tendril like a gorilla, dodging Palpatine's attacks while Ghost Rider appears from above, his enhanced starfighter strafing the tentacles and bombarding the main body with proton torpedoes. Has-Been Hotel Anakin spreads his golden wings and takes off, his blazing form slicing through the outer shell of Carnage. Meanwhile, Vader, Raven, and Darth Jar Jar leap up after him. Their agility is nearly that of Venom, but they are further aided by the Force, their dark powers twisting the unstoppable shape of Carnage, turning tentacles against each other or tearing chunks out with their lightsabers. Darth Jar Jar in particular proves to be a danger to Carnage, as his unpredictable movements make it impossible for him to strike at the Dark Lord, who cackles and ducks under each attack. Meanwhile, Revan manages to hold several tendrils in place, allowing Vader to finish them off. While the battle rages outside, inside the temple, Padme leads the Jedi Masters through the collapsing corridors. Deadpool helps guide them, flying up with his jetpack and destroying any debris. They rescue whoever they can as they make their way out. Has-Been Hotel Anakin said he brought reinforcements, and they arrive at the main area, Deadpool's X-Force. Fives and Slick are both armed with flamethrowers and burn through a path while Ventress and Ahsoka leap through the air, running atop the tentacles as they try to find an opening. The Jedi ignite their lightsabers and hack through the symbiote.
Hey, can we talk about how this is the coolest crossover event in Jedi history? No? Okay, what about how Disney owns most of us now? Alright, here's the plan. Everyone protects Sugar Bear and Snippy Sidekick at all costs.
And why do they need protection?
Because if you've been to my timeline, you know the Jedi owe those two big time.
They somehow manage to fight their way out where Padme pauses to survey the destruction around her. Outside, the battle reaches a fever pitch. Venom wraps his tendrils around one of Carnage Palpatine's massive arms, attempting to pull him down. But the monstrosity roars and flings him aside like a ragdoll, and is only saved by Has-Been Hotel Anakin. Ghost Rider circles above, launching flaming chains that sear through Carnage's outer lair, while Revan and Jar Jar continue to dance through the forest of tendrils that Carnage has created.
All right, we're ready to fight. But how do we defeat such a thing?
It's weak against fire and sound. That's why I chose this team.
Has-Been Hotel Anakin breaks off his attack and lands atop the tallest tower in the Jedi Temple. His weapon shifts, changing from his lightsaber to a guitar axe, the same weapon Adam, the first man, used. With a grin, he slams a note out that echoes through the temple. He begins to play a beat that causes Carnage's form to tremble as the sound destabilizes his form. Deadpool raises his fist in the air as the others rush in. With Carnage's form temporarily unstable, it allows them to strike. Their lightsabers tearing large chunks of Carnage's symbiote body, while Padme's swords flash and she hurls fire potions.
See, this is why you bring theater kids to a fight.
Not to be outdone, Venom leaps back into the fight, his form slamming into the symbiote, ripping and tearing through and creating an opening for Ghost Rider to strike. His entire starfighter goes up in flames as he slams into the crater Venom created. The heat and blaster fire is enough to create a brief opening, right to the core of Carnage, but it quickly begins to close. Force Blocker Anakin, Vader, Revan, and Jar Jar all manage to slip inside before it closes entirely. The rest of the group continues to fight outside, but Padme spares them a glance.
You think they'll be okay?
Of course! They have Space Keanu Reeves and Sith Sabanks protecting them. They'll be fine.
Inside, they find themselves surrounded by an alien, pulsating landscape. Carnage is a nightmare, a living forest of writhing symbiote veins, each one glowing faintly with dark energy and humming with the sound of Palpatine's sinister laugh. Revan and Darth Jar Jar take the lead, their lightsabers slicing through tendrils like a machete to an underbrush.
This place is dangerous.
Misa agrees. We're gonna be careful or we're gonna be in big trouble.
He leaps and slides through the tendrils, carefully sliding through and slashing those apart, moving deeper into the symbiotic labyrinth as they approach the core where Palpatine is. As they push forward, the veins grow thicker, the environment more hostile. Dark tendrils lash out, fueled by Palpatine's force powers channeling through the symbiote. Their energy is enough to throw them back, and their attacks grow more powerful with each strike, sending shockwaves across the ground as they are fueled by the power of the Force. Revan and Jar Jar fend off the attacks, their lightsabers cutting through the appendages with practiced efficiency. Jar Jar surprises everyone by catching a particularly large tendril mid-strike, his strength enhanced by the dark side as he slices it apart. When a dozen tentacles approach, Jar Jar laughs and his arm moves at lightning speed, his lightsaber slashing through them. Meanwhile, Revan advances carefully, extending one hand out and crushing several tendrils with the Force. When they do get close, he hacks it apart with expert ease, or uses the Force to turn them against each other. This allows Force Blocker Anakin and Vader to reach the core, a massive pulsating cocoon of symbiote flesh. Palpatine lies within, encased in a protective shell, his face twisted into a sneer as he channels the dark side through the symbiote itself.
You've come so far only to fail. The power of the Force and carnage makes me invincible.
The cocoon lashes out with tendrils of pure darkness, forcing Revan and Jar Jar to dive out of the way. The two share a look and rush forward to attack. Anakin and Vader move in tandem, their lightsabers cutting through the defensive layers of the cocoon. The symbiote fights back, its tendrils growing almost instantly. Seeing this, he meets the power with his own, channeling his own Force energy to try and create an opening. For a moment, the faintest signs of flesh can be seen. Vader redoubles his efforts and continues to keep it open, pulling with all his strength. His respirator hisses as he strains against the symbiote's resistance. Finally, he tears away enough of the shell to reveal Palpatine, his body twisted and grotesque. Anakin steps forward, his hand outstretched as he reaches into Palpatine through the Force, connecting with the dark nexus of power that fuels him.
No, you cannot.
Anakin begins draining him, seeing the very bonds of the Force on Palpatine like puppets on a string, and he begins to sever them one by one. Palpatine's screams echo through the symbiote labyrinth as his power diminishes, the dark energy unraveling around him. As Palpatine weakens, the symbiote itself begins to convulse, its connections to its host faltering. Vader takes advantage of the moment, igniting his lightsaber, and, with a single precise strike, decapitates Palpatine, severing him from the symbiote entirely. The Carnage symbiote shrieks in agony, the tendrils surrounding the temple melting away as it has no dark energy to feed off of. The Jedi all stare out in surprise, watching their foe unexpectedly shrink until Carnage is little more than a puddle. It tries to squirm away until Venom leaps down from the roof.
Where do you think you're going?
As Carnage tries to leap away, Venom snaps him up in midair and swallows him whole. Seeing their job complete, those from a different timeline all head back to the world between worlds, allowing the Jedi to handle things from here, although Force blocker Anakin chooses to join them rather than face the punishment of the Jedi. But as they leave, this gives Padme an idea. While Palpatine might have been the first threat to the timeline, they realize he won't be the last, and suggest they continue working together and recruiting other individuals who can help protect the multiverse. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.